Most people probably don't think there is a big risk of human trafficking on P.E.I, that it only ever happens in big cities. But the reality is it happens everywhere. So what does trafficking actually look like here, and how can people protect themselves? Dina Unger is the co-founder and CEO of an advocacy group called EVENforONE, and she is a lived experience expert. Adelee MacNevin is the COO, and both are my guests. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
How prevalent is human trafficking in P.E.I in Atlantic Canada?
Honestly, prevalency is hard to determine. Statistics in Canada are not easy to get in all reality because trafficking goes incredibly underreported in Canada and the United States.
Is it harder to see in smaller, more rural places?
I don't think so. I think that it's just a more hidden nature. In all reality, we look for the really public face of it. We look for the glamorized perspective of things. But the truth is that it's happening to our teenagers in their bedrooms, online exploitation, sextortion, and in those spaces.
People are looking for the kidnapping or the white van, right? And that's just not what it looks like for the vast majority of people, unfortunately.
So what does it look like then in reality compared to what we see in the movies and on social media?
So in Canada, actually 91% of police reported victims were trafficked by somebody that they knew. We have about 34% of those were trafficked by an intimate partner, and globally we know about 37 to 40% are trafficked by a family member. So when you think of that, right, it involves grooming and trust, and it often happens in not with big flashy bold sign that it's happening. It's much more subtle, and victims are often groomed too and manipulated into by shame and to keep it hidden, right? And so oftentimes when people are being trafficked, they don't even realize that they're being trafficked. Many survivors exit on their own, and it's not till years later that they realize that they were actually trafficked.
So is there any way to determine that you are a target?
That is a great question.
A lot of people think about like ACE-related scores or trauma, abuse, and those absolutely are applicable, and they create vulnerabilities. So, we think about communities that have suffered a lot of trauma within themselves. And yes, it puts them at a higher risk. So we want to recognize and honor that. At the same time, traffickers are looking for any vulnerability because it's very, very lucrative to traffic somebody. So they're going to look for anybody that they can exploit. So vulnerabilities, things like something that is even more natural. All of us have needs for safety, needs for connection, need for love, to be seen, to be understood, to be heard. So if somebody is expressing those needs, that opens up a window for somebody who's going to exploit them to say, oh, I see that need, and I'm going to try to meet that need and act like your friend or your romantic partner. And eventually, once that trust is built in, then they'll flip the switch and begin exploitation. So signs that you might be being groomed could be if you're online and somebody starts moving really fast and you really don't know them in real life, right? Or if somebody starts offering some kind of gift, that's a big red flag too. And it doesn't have to be money or even something physical. If you're gaming online, it could be part of the in-game currency that they might be offering too. So those are some of the early signs that
some, but not all, right? Because you say sometimes people don't even realize they are being groomed. And I'm assuming, my goodness, that the internet and social media has just made it that much worse.
The majority of luring, the luring part of trafficking happens online now, unfortunately.
So what signs then should people be looking for that someone is a victim of human trafficking? I remember seeing social media posts that there was some hand signal that people would use. Is that true? How does somebody see that young person or that person might be in trouble?
Honestly, it's hard to tell, and the hand signal is not a great representation of it. It was developed by an organization, but most survivors do not know that signal. They're not going to use that. Most traffickers are already aware of those signals, and it actually puts survivors in danger to use those kind of hand signals.
It also offers up kind of a simplistic way for people to engage in human trafficking. Oh, if I know this signal, then I'll just watch for it. And if I don't see it, you know, it's not happening. But it's far more complex, and the signs are for, like, we could list off 20 different signs that somebody could potentially be a victim of trafficking, right? And so it's a combination of different factors. Like if you see somebody with a new tattoo, or maybe somebody is dressing differently, maybe they've started, like there's a change in their behavior. They're anxious, they're depressed, they're really, really tired. That could be because they're being used a lot, right? And they're out at all hours. You could notice that there's changing in their eating habits.
Grades
maybe
slipping.
Grades are slipping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expensive gifts, maybe.
Expensive gifts, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And so, if you have a suspicion, what should you do?
If you are a loving family member that is concerned, showing up, asking questions, basically don't respond out of fear.
Right.
Create safe spaces and seek to understand what is going on in that person's life.
But that's the conversation starter, right?
Yeah. And if there is somebody who's trying to exploit them, or you're suspicious of it, you have to remember that their goal is to drive a wedge and to isolate the person, right? So what you're trying to do by creating that safe space is to not widen that wedge, but to have a better and more powerful influence, be a safer person than the other person, the person who's trying to exploit and target them.
And if you are the general public and you notice something that's off, 911. If there is any concern, immediately call. And then there's the Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking. Their hotline is always available. They want those calls. They would rather have people calling and it not be trafficking than people worried that they're going to offend and not calling.
So even if it's a suspicion, make the call. There's no harm in making that call.
There's no harm.
And for Indigenous women, there's a Talk for Healing hotline as well.
Okay. Thank you both very much for coming in, and good luck with some of the events that you're having here on the island. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.